unless you're using a digital clock, and then I pity you. We will call this meeting of the Brainerd ISD 181 Board of Education to order, please. And we will begin with a roll call, please.
Kevin Glutt.
Here.
DJ Donnellier.
Here.
Randy Heidman.
Here.
Sarah Spear.
Here.
John Ward.
Here.
So for the record, Michelle Brecken, when the agenda for this meeting was posted, according to statute, her remote address was not properly published at that time, so she is listening and with us in spirit, but will not be participating as a board member during this meeting tonight. So let's go on to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the amended agenda as presented. So we have a few amendments to the agenda, actually just two. One is we had to add in all of the different dates and times for the various meetings that will occur with the board as it relates to the superintendent search. So we had the special board meeting last week where we approved all those different dates, starting with, I don't know, later in April and going in through the end of April and so on. Those are now added into the agenda to be approved by us tonight, or already approved, I'm sorry. And then on the APAC action item that comes up under new business, the original agenda had Carrie Ross listed as the presenter, and that's been changed to Director Spear. So those are the only changes to the agenda that was published last week. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Director Donnellinger with a second from Director Spear to approve the amended agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye, please. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to do roll call votes. Because of John. Roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Kevin Boyles.
Yes.
DJ Donnellier.
Yes.
Randy Heidman.
Yes.
Sarah Spear.
Yes.
John Ward.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Okay, we'll move on to recognitions. I'll tackle the first couple maybe, just to give Dr. Hahn a little bit of a respite.
Perfect,
Since,
you tell me when.
All right, so first off, we'd like to offer congratulations to the recently inducted legendary women of Brainerd Public Schools. The 2024 inductees were Rachel Pernina Oliver Burke, Heidi Holton, Amy Wallene Price, Dr. Jennifer Person, and Alyssa Hansen. Next up, we have congratulations to Nisswa Elementary Students of the Month for February. February's character traits focused on caring and kindness. The students selected for February include Charlotte Athman, Wells Hermanson, Evelyn Athman, Shane McKee, Frankie Mace, Weston Snyders, Cannon Stewart, Kinsley Blocker, Sawyer Doolittle, Kinsley Wood, Olivia Shepard, Ozzie Bai, Abigail Lendway, Spencer Saville, Mavie Ranweiler, Landon Walton, Breck Bros, Hunter Lutke, Arlo Amote, Chaselyn Klabotes, Moxie Stephen Burton, and Hugo Sweet. Next up is congratulations to Nisswa Elementary Students of the Month for March. March's character traits focused on leadership. The students selected for March include Cassidy Sparrow, Duke Ruckteschel, Noah McKibben, Bryn Johns, Hudson Lingenfelter, Nelson Walter, Jack Barsness, Hazel Harstad, Hudson Wright, Zoe Stephen Burton, Grace Weiniger, Logan Vander Arden, Jackson Kuhn, Kennedy Noswala, Weston McDonald, Nora Waletzo, Tucker Laugen, Emery Watring, Will Fredrickson, Connor Stewart, Haley Velasco, Kinley Fortis, Ethan Johnson, and Ellison Herron. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Hahn for a few.
So just, so you know, kids listen for their names, so good job, Director Boyles.
And my apologies for any that were mispronounced.
So every February, Nisswa Elementary Student Council hosts a kindness challenge, providing each student with a calendar containing suggestions to promote acts of kindness. The class with the highest percentage of completed calendars wins the challenge. This year's winning class is Mrs. Headley's second grade class. Congratulations. They are awarded certificates, achieved a 92% completion rate, received fun pencils, and enjoyed an ice cream treat. Way to be warrior awesome. In addition, you can tell these first few are all Nisswa. Every spring, Nisswa Elementary fourth graders embark on a reading series challenge, selecting a series to read in its entirety with a specified time frame. Those who meet this goal receive recognition through a certificate, enjoy a special fancy and fun lunch with Principal Mrs. Rasky, and receive additional prizes. Congratulations to the Super Series honorees, Everett Miller, Ethan Johnson, Dominic Washington, Caitlin Gretzka, Bailey Vander Aard, Addie Peterson, Haley Velasco, Kinley Fortis, Avery Ager, Ari Kinman, Harper Wilczek, Elizabeth Sparrow, and Jude Wilson. Congratulations to Moxie Burton, a fourth grade student at Nisswa Elementary, for being chosen as the top winner of the Mayor for the Day essay contest in Nisswa. Moxie's exceptional essay was subsequently submitted to the statewide contest by Nisswa City Administrator Jenny Max, Nisswa Elementary, and Nisswa City Council. Out of over 500 essays submitted statewide, Moxie secured an impressive 25th place. Way to go, Moxie. Your talent and dedication are truly remarkable, and we're excited to see where your journey takes you. And this one's pretty exciting. So congratulations to Nisswa Elementary's Principal Molly Rasky, who will receive the Melvin Jones Award on Saturday, April 13th at the Lions International Foundation Gala. The Melvin Jones Fellowship Award is the highest form of recognition bestowed by Lions Club's International Foundation to individuals who demonstrate exemplary humanitarian service. It is named after Melvin Jones, the founder of Lions Club International. Recipients of this award are recognized for their dedication to improving their communities and making a positive impact on the lives of others through their service work. The Melvin Jones Fellowship is a prestigious honor within the Lions community and reflects a significant commitment to the Lions motto, "We serve."
All right, did I see Jack sitting back there somewhere, Mr. Freeman?
I saw him.
As he walks up,
I think no good deed goes unpunished. Thanks for coming tonight.
Yes. That's what happens when you have a fantastic winter.
We did have a good winter, so thanks for having me. All right, we'll start off. Congrats to the Warrior cheer team on a fantastic season, and to the following members for their awards. Reagan Roberts, MCCA All-State Sideline and UCA All-American. Reagan Hogue Twardy, MCCA All-State Competition and UCA All-American. And Abby Schuler, MCCA Honors Team. And also for cheer, our head coach, Carissa Alness, was named the MCCA Cheer Coach of the Year for the state of Minnesota. So a great recognition for that coach. Congrats to the Warrior Girls Nordic team for placing 9th at the state meet, and to the boys team for placing 4th. Congratulations to Lance Hastings and Tate Knapp, who are Nordic ski state champions in the sprint relay. Anytime you win a state championship for your school or community, that's pretty darn special. So congrats to those guys. Congratulations to the Warrior Nordic ski coach, Chris Hansen, for being named the MN Girls Head Coach of the Year for the state of Minnesota as well. Congratulations to the Warrior Girls Alpine team for taking 3rd place at the state tournament. Congrats to the Warrior Adapted team for taking 3rd place at state. Congratulations to the Warrior Dance team for taking 4th place at the state tournament in the 3A Jazz division, and for capturing our first state championship in 3A High Kick since 1999. We were the first school since 99 in Greater Minnesota to win a state championship in 3A High Kick, so a great accomplishment there. And then hot off the presses, last night, Coach Clow was recognized as the state coach of the year for 3A dance coaches as well, so that's another one that we can add. Congrats to the Warrior Boys Swim and Dive team for earning their Section 828 team title. That was their 3rd year in a row. And congratulations to head coach John Zemke for being named the Section 828 Coach of the Year. Congrats to Warrior wrestlers Easton Dirks, Elijah German, Shane Carlson, and Ethan Kozlowski for qualifying for the state tournament in wrestling. And congrats to our gymnasts, Lauren Castle, who qualified in vault for the state tournament, and Sophia White, who qualified in bars. Congratulations to Warrior Boys. That's actually not accurate. Warrior Girls head coach Troy Nelson, who was named the Section 848 Coach of the Year for girls basketball, and his assistant Greg Geary was named the Section 848 Assistant Coach of the Year for our girls team as well. So a lot to celebrate this winter, and thanks for letting me come up and celebrate them.
Thank you, Director Freeman. Have a good night. All right, next up is public input. This is where a member of the public can address the board during this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Hahn. The Board of Education will not converse with guests to address the topics discussed at this time. So first up, we have Terry Frovick, please.
Thank you for this opportunity to say a word of thank you to Dr. Hahn in the context of a couple fun things that are going on in our community. First of all, last Friday evening, there was kind of a love-in at Gitzi-Zeebe Center for the Performing Arts. There was a celebration of Joey Halverson, and that whole first floor of Gitzi-Zeebe was full of people who would love people who volunteer in our community. And what I want to say is Joey's way of seeing people through her camera and other ways is a metaphor for Dr. Hahn. The way she wants, she came to a small village in our area called Nisswa, and she shared with a community of people who were asking questions about the school what her priorities were. She said, number one, that every student who comes into our school is safe. Number two, that they are loved, that they are able to shine and to be seen. And so that's number one. Thank you for that spirit of recognition of students in your tenure so far as leader. But the second thing is thank you for what you have done behind the scenes before. Before you were superintendent, while you were assistant superintendent, working so hard to keep the protocol for keeping our students safe during COVID. I know you worked immensely for that, and thank you for that. So wherever you go, I want you to know that you have been appreciated by a lot of community residents, including myself and the little group that we convene, People for Racial Justice. Finally, a word of appreciation to the Board of Directors in the use of another metaphor. Some of you know that there was a thing going on in the skies today called a eclipse. And there were people from Mexico all the way up to Vermont gathering in towns celebrating what was going on. And they were going, oh, crying and celebrating. What they didn't really know was they were so excited that this 3 or 4 minute of darkness was the only darkness for that eclipse because the sun came back out. And here's the metaphor for you guys. In your move forward to find a new superintendent, excuse me, there will be moments of darkness, but it's always dynamic. It's always changing. It won't be that long. And as you, as an amazing board, work through things like how are we going to pay for this Gitzi-Zeebe Center, or how are we going to keep the staff strong? Just realize in those moments of darkness, you might have to have a potluck fundraiser once in a while, but, but it'll go. And you will succeed if you stay with it and wait until the sun shines. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And then next we have Doug Kern, please.
Sorry, I ended up running just a little late here. Yeah, to know Joey is to love Joey, and and I wanted to thank Director or Superintendent Hahn for her service. That's probably one of the main things I wanted to say is just thank you for your service. With the things that are coming up and the things that are the changes that will be happening in the next year, whether we get new directors or not, it's going to be a tough road to hoe, like he said, moments of darkness. And so with that, I'd just like to pray for you guys real quick, if you don't mind. Father, I just thank you for these people. I ask that you give them wisdom to do the things they need to do and to get the people in that they need to get in, and just give them direction. In Jesus' name, amen. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
For the record, we are definitely getting one new director at least this fall.
Short timer.
Huh? All right, next up, we have the approval of minutes, starting with the regular school board meeting from back on February 12th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Heidman with a second from Director Spear to approve the meeting minutes for February 12th. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Diego Donlin,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boils,
Yes. Motion carries. Next would be the special school board meeting from February 27th. This, for just jogging memories, was when we approved the teacher contract and the food service contract.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, I'm going to take that as a second, Director Ward. So we have a motion from Director Spear with a second from Director Ward to approve the February 27th special school board meeting minutes. Any discussion?
I think I have to abstain because I wasn't here. Or however that works. John would know. Is that what I do, John? I wasn't at the meeting on the 27th, so I just abstain, or do I pass, or what do I do?
Well, technically, you can vote on it because if you reviewed the
Yeah,
minutes.
you can vote on it.
The irregularities. but if
Okay,
you want-
fine, then I'll vote. I like to vote. I'm voting.
Roll call
machine.
vote, please, Kelly.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boils,
Yes,
Diego Donlin,
Yes.
motion carries. Next, we have special school board meeting from March 19th, 2024. And this was the meeting where we accepted Dr. Hahn's retirement letter and agreed to hire MSBA for the superintendent search.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Director Donlinger with a second from Director Spear to approve the March 19th special board meeting minutes. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Director Heidman?
This may not be a big deal, but do the dates for your resignation line up with the contract
Yes.
that you signed as far as the ending of the school year? And your effective date is June 28th of 2024. How did the school year inside of that contract
So
goes from June 1
to July 30th.
to July
Or to June
30th?
30th, sorry. So I
June
think that
30th.
June 20th is that Friday.
Okay. And all I'm doing is just asking the question, that they don't necessarily line up, and do they need to line up? It's more of a question than anything else.
Well, and then as it relates to the contract has a term. And we, by virtue of accepting the retirement, essentially are allowing the contract to terminate a year early.
Okay.
So the school year itself isn't really tied to that. It's more tied to that actual contract.
I just didn't want to have any complications or somebody coming back saying that the dates didn't match up.
No, that's the intent, so you can hire by July 1.
Okay. Cool.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boils,
Yes.
Diego Donlin,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. And then finally, we have the special school board meeting from April 2nd. And this was, should be fresh in our memories. It was just about a week ago, and that was where Barb from MSBA was here, and we agreed upon all the other stuff that we'll look at in a little bit.
Make a motion to approve?
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Spear with a second from Director Heidman to approve the special school board meeting minutes from April 2nd. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Kelly.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boils,
Yes.
Diego Donlin,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll move along to the consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Director Spear with a second from Director Heidman to approve the consent calendar as presented. Any discussion?
Chair Boyles,
Director Ward?
just under the consent calendar, there are some significant donations again this month. And I don't have that in front of me, I'm sorry, but, there was a couple $2,500 donations, there was a $5,000 donation. And once again, we just recognize those as appreciative. All donations that we get are appreciated. So I just wanted to point that out. If somebody can help me with who that was, I would appreciate it, but I wanted to recognize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ward.
It's Max Botics. Maxbotix. How about the Gene Haas Foundation? Gene Haas owns all these racing deals, Formula One and NASCAR and all these different racing.
Will their contributions to our Super Mileage Club?
Yeah, I believe it. He does, his business is CNC machines.
So that's good. And then the $5,000 was from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Yeah, some nice donations.
Cool. Again, thank you, Director Ward. Any further discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Kevin Boils,
Yes.
PJ Donaldlinger,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spears,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Great, motion carries. Consent calendar is approved. Next up, we have the presentation of the Brainerd Online School with Christina Lundgren. Hello.
Pull up the presentation here. Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity to share just our progress with the Brainerd Online School. I just wanted to start with a little bit of background information for those of you that weren't here when we began this process in the fall of 2019. But prior to that, Brainerd High School was seeing a significant number of students choosing to take supplemental online courses through providers outside of the district. And so we were looking at a way to maintain our enrollment, really looking at ways to provide flexibility for students and families, because that's what we were hearing as to why they were choosing to go choose courses elsewhere. And then in addition to that, when we kind of were thinking through our why do we want to provide this opportunity to students, we wanted to provide online learning opportunities for students because we know once they leave high school, in college and in the workplace, they'll have opportunities to do online courses, to develop digital literacy skills, and then just to provide some opportunities for collaboration and communication in that digital space. So in the spring of 2021, we were approved through the application process through MDE as a supplemental online provider for students in grades 9 through 12. And so that means that we can provide supplemental online courses for any students in the state of Minnesota. So not only does it provide options for Brainerd students, but also opportunities for students outside of the district. Our learning management system that we are using is D2L Brightspace, which is different than Google Classroom, which you may be familiar with for in-person classes. And the reason that we decided to go with D2L, one, it had more tools available to provide designed for an e-learning or an online learning experience that Google Classroom didn't have at that time. Two, we wanted to differentiate between our in-person courses and our online courses. And then the third reason is that the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities uses D2L as their LMS platform. So we thought that would provide an opportunity for students to experience that learning space if they do transition into a post-secondary learning opportunity. Our courses are asynchronous, which means that the students complete the coursework in their own time, in a certain time frame. There aren't specific class periods where students meet all together with the teacher, but we do release the coursework a week at a time. So instead of having everything available for the whole semester, coursework is released 1 week at a time, so students are still on pace with each other. There's opportunities for collaboration and discussion and things like that in that community building in those courses. So when we started by offering 13 courses in our first year. And that is, so for example, American history is offered first semester and second semester, so that would be 2 of those 13 courses. And we decided to start small because we wanted to kind of work on what our process was, how we're enrolling students, how we're building the courses and things of that nature. And then over the time, we have expanded to where for next year, we're gonna offer 50 different courses. So this is a look at our enrollment over the last 3 years, and then our projected enrollment for next year. So the blue bar is representing first semester enrollments, and the red bar is second semester. And so looking at 24, 25, I did actually update those numbers. We had some additional enrollments towards the end of last week, but this is just based on projected enrollment. What we've seen at the start of each semester is we do tend to increase enrollment a little bit during the first 2 weeks of the semester. So we're anticipating that those numbers will adjust as we finish this school year and then as we move into the fall of next year. So we're really excited about this because we think this is really helping us maintain our enrollment at the high school by providing these opportunities for our students. And so one of the questions that actually has come up at the high school, in particular with the staff, is just how many online classes students are choosing to take. So our original application was as a supplemental provider, and we were intending on applying to be a comprehensive provider where students could take a full course load through their online school. But last spring, with the change in the legislature, any school district in the state of Minnesota can provide full-time online learning for their students. So we don't have to complete a separate application. So we can provide, if a student chooses to, they could take all of their courses online through Brainerd Online School. So we were just curious what students were choosing to do. So this is just looking at this year. But you can see the number of online classes that students are choosing to take in each of the grade levels. Generally speaking, most students are choosing 1 or 2. So they really are supplementing their in-person schedule with 1 or 2 online classes. We do have a handful of students that are opting to take 3 or more, but we don't have any students at this time that are taking a full-time online schedule. This is just an overview from first semester, just a comparison of the grade distribution from the in-person classes with the online classes. And this is just a consolidation of all those courses, just to see how students are performing in online as compared to the in-person classes. And for the most part, we were pleased to see that they were fairly consistent with the in-person and online. Staffing, so at the high school, we have the option for teachers to teach an online course during their contract day. And then we also have what's called an online learning agreement as part of the master contract. And this is where a teacher would be teaching this course outside of the contract day or as an extra section. So this is just a breakdown of how we've transitioned from in the school day or contract sessions versus that online agreement over the course of the 3 years that we've been offering these classes. As we've grown, we're seeing that more courses, especially English and social studies, have enrollment where there's enough students to offer the class during the school day, which then the teacher would have that section, so students could come in during that hour during the day to meet with the teacher in person if they chose to. As we move forward, since we are an approved supplemental online provider, we are required to participate in a continuous improvement plan or process through MDE. And so they changed how we basically continue to get approved as a provider to where we will always be participating in this continuous improvement rather than going through a review. So this is the first year that they've started this continuous improvement process. And we are focusing on 4 areas: participation, practices of the adults, experience of the people involved, and then the outcomes for the people served. And we, as a school, can choose 2 areas to focus on and to create a guiding question of how we want to move forward with our improvement over time. So we decided to focus on participation. And our guiding question is just how we can increase the level of student participation and engagement within the online courses, and what does that mean and what does that look like. And then our second focus area is on outcomes. So what are our identified outcomes, and then what areas of our process do we need to improve those identified outcomes. And so over time, we would develop a plan, identify what data we would collect, revisit and analyze our data, and then go back to those guiding questions. So it's that cycle of continuous improvement. As a part of that, we've also identified ongoing professional learning that we want to provide for our teachers, specifically in the areas of designing online learning experiences. How do we assess learning in an online environment? And then how do we build that community so students feel like they're a part of a classroom community in that online space, especially since we have an asynchronous model at the high school level. And then also our next steps are, we just started beginning the conversation around what might be some online options at Forest View, particularly for 7th and 8th grade students. So we're just starting that, identifying what professional learning might be needed for 7th and 8th grade staff, and then what type of course design we want to look at. So we started talking about a synchronous model where students would have a structure, meet regularly with a class, with their teacher in that online space, and what that could look like at Forest View. So those are our next steps as we're moving forward. I think that's it. So any questions on the online classes?
I've got a question, Christina. You mentioned outside district students can use the Brainerd online school.
Yep.
Are they considered students then as far as state aid?
So how that works, so this year we actually had 7, which we were pretty excited about, specifically for the CIS medical terminology and American Sign Language, so some of those elective classes. So how that works is the student is still considered enrolled in their home district, so that's the enrolling district. And then we are supplementing their course schedule with one of our classes. And so we get a percentage of their ADM to pay for that class.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair Boyles.
Director Ward?
Christina, thank you for the presentation and the excitement of online classes and the opportunities for our children to participate in that. And I had 3 questions down, and you answered almost all of them, but I wanted to make sure that they were clarified.
Yep.
So all of the classes are being taught by a licensed educator.
Correct.
Yep, I just wanted to make sure that that was loud and clear. And then also, you compared the grading scales. I thought that was very interesting that you compared in school versus online school grading scales. And were the grading scales approximately the same percentages, like 90 to 100% A? I mean, can you address that?
Yes, so first of all, just to come back to the teacher question, and which kind of leads into the grading question, I think. All of our courses are currently being taught by Brainerd Public School high school teachers. So they're all teachers that are on site as well. So they teach both in person and then online courses. The way we tried to design the courses is that they are on pace with the companion in-person course. Because we do know that there will be some movement of students into online at the start of the school year, and then out of online as the school year gets started if they decide with their family that that's maybe not the best place for them. And so the course pacing is the same. Some of the learning experiences will look different because of the nature of online learning versus in-person learning. But the content is the same and to the level of mastery for assessment is the same and the grading scale is the same. So
Yes.
it's fairly, I won't say it's exactly the same in terms of the learning experience, but everything else would be consistent between in-person and online.
Very good, thank you. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask, and I'm glad you addressed it, was the middle school. So, what, and 50 classes, we're offering at the high school, it's wonderful, and what the board is always talking about, how can we market our school better and get kids back into onto our roles and things, and I think this is a great way to, as you already have already indicated, to do that. The middle school is an area that, we also need to make some, inroad with, as far as, student population. So are you planning on offering classes there this year with the middle school, or are you just looking at it right now?
So where we're at in the conversation is we want to take the next school year, so the 24-25 school year, to do planning. And we really want to be intentional with our planning, especially for that middle school population, knowing that the structures are going to need to look different than what we currently have for the high school population of students. So we want to start with just identifying teachers that would be interested and excited about providing online instruction, looking at professional learning about what is effective online learning course design, how do we assess in the online environment, and again, some of those community building things. And then in addition to that, what would the structure look like? So how would we provide that synchronous structure that we currently don't have at the high school? So, and also I was gonna say, we're looking at starting small, like we did at the high school, where we might start with just 8th grade, let's say, or a core area, so maybe just social studies, or maybe just math for the first year. So next year, taking time to do that planning, to be very intentional about that. And then the hope would be the following school year, so 25-26, we would implement online courses at the middle school. But we haven't
Thank
identified
you.
specifically which ones yet.
Thank you, great job.
Thanks.
Chair Boyles? I think that the one thing that makes this online stand out, one, it's been very thoughtfully done and constructed under Christina's leadership and the work that she's done alongside of our educators to really make this an exceptional online. There are a lot of online programs that basically buy prepackaged curriculums. So basically you just need somebody to release that curriculum. In this instance, you do, just like Director Ward said, you have the licensed instructor who's available on site, who's available in person, not just responding to pre-developed, prepackaged coursework, which is really exciting because now at this point you can get your whole high school diploma online if you so choose. The other thing is Brainerd High School and the staff there have done a nice job creating elective courses, which a lot of online programs lack some of that creativity or some of those broad electives. So it's definitely maintained on enrollment. We're starting to seek that enrollment grow, or seeing it grow. I've been stopped. I had another parent from another district who child was struggling with medical issues. They weren't adopting. Now they're doing online at Brainerd High School. So I think you're gonna see nothing but the opportunity to increase. Looking at our local numbers, you know, students are supplementing. They're taking online so they can be in band, orchestra, and choir. Or they're taking online so they can take more electives. They're taking online so they can have work-based experience. They really are getting a robust opportunity with both online and in person. So it's again, if you compare it around the state, I think Brainerd High School's done a really nice job making it high quality and making sure students that are there are taught to the standard, assessed to the standard, and have the support to succeed. So it's been very well done.
So if you're taking a class, a supplement, then do they count for more than 1.2 ADMs? Or they just take more classes?
It's
They
1.25.
graduate early, like what's the purpose?
A lot of it is that more of our students are seeking that freedom they don't graduate early, they might get more freedom of electives to choose as they go down.
Further down the road.
Further down the road, and that's what we see a lot of our students doing, just because they want those options. Or we see a lot of the students who, they're doing that so then they can go to work. They're doing it for a work-based release. But from an ADM perspective, they're 1.25.
One nose equals one ADM, or 1.25, or whatever the formula is, depending on their age.
But I think that's where, what's nice is when you're starting to see some students that are coming in to take that as an additional course. That's what's great.
So do any kids just go, that's what they do for school, like full-time?
In Brainerd,
Yeah, or we don't offer that,
we could, so
but we're
we,
not there yet.
we actually, we have the capacity. If a student chose to have their full schedule through Brainerd High School, Brainerd Online School online, we could provide that.
So would that be similar to homeschooling then?
No.
I know there's different styles of homeschooling, but
No, yeah.
could you like say, I'm just doing online school, I'm just gonna stay home? I mean, right? Is that what they do?
But they would,
They could.
they'd be a Brainerd High School student, they're just doing it all online. We have some students who, homeschool students who they choose to take an online course, and it's considered concurrent enrollment, so they're enrolled both in homeschool and in the public school. So we're starting to see, again, when you think about homeschooling, when it comes to AP geography or chemistry, sometimes that's nice to have that licensed instructor rather than.
What do
relying
these
on
kids do if it's like third hour and I'm gonna take American history? Where do they go? Do they just wander around the school, or do they
So,
be
yeah, that's
out
a-
of the school,
that's a
or
good
what
question.
happens to them?
They do really have options. So their online hour is really an open hour. So if they are physically in the building, if that's what they choose, typically they're in one of the common spaces in the building, so media center, activity commons area by the main entrance. They can go to their class and meet with their teacher if it's during that section during the day, and the teacher is teaching the course during the contract day, they can do that. A lot of students choose to not be on campus, so, you know, your students that are taking, let's say, 2 online classes, they might take first and second hour online, so they would stay at home, and then they would come in to the building third hour.
Oh, really?
Or their online classes might be 6th and 7th hour, so then they leave after 5th hour and they go to a job, let's say. So they don't have to be physically on site to do the online class. And the asynchronous model is where the students are working at their own pace. They have due dates within the week, so there's a week of content released at a time. So there are checkpoints or kind of some structure within the week, but they're not meeting at 8 o'clock on Monday morning with their class.
They could
for
do it at 8
just-
o'clock tonight.
Correct, yeah. So that's that flexibility piece where they can choose where they want to do that learning. And they can choose to physically meet with the teacher if they do would like that opportunity.
My son had one of those last year. I think it was video game design, I can't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
we did after that.
Yeah, and it was the same thing, and it was, you know, because it freed up an hour because of his block, right, he had maybe third hour or whatever, and then he would just go to like his, one of the open classrooms where almost like a homeroom or study hall situation, he would go in there. We encouraged him to work on that coursework then, just to get it done, but,
Why wouldn't you?
yeah. Oh, he can give you a list.
I'm sure. Can't imagine where I'd have been. Only outside. What are the identified outcomes that you guys came up with?
So we are actually still in the process of doing that. So this is the first year of the continuous improvement, and so MDE is new in testing the waters with this as well. So we have a cohort of schools that we meet with. So they have 3 online learning cohorts, and we have 3 meetings over the course of the year. And so really the first meeting was just about the process and learning, you know, how this is gonna work. And then the second meeting, which was in February, was we brought back data and started talking about data with other schools to circle in about where we wanted to focus our work. And so now as we move into, we did do some, we surveyed students, we surveyed staff, so we pulled in some of that qualitative information. We've collected, again, the achievement data, our enrollment data, so we've just been compiling information. And so now as we move into the spring cycle, which will be towards the end of April, that's gonna be our next step, is identifying what those learning, specific outcomes that we want to target. And then we'll work on developing a plan of how we want to meet those outcomes over the course of next year. So we're still in the beginning stages of developing that continuous improvement plan.
Moving fast.
Yeah.
Sure.
I thought you made such a great point about the relevancy to the workforce, knowing that there's so many people that work remote, and you still have to be accountable, you still have to be productive, and for our students to learn how to do that, I think is awesome.
Well, it's a good transition for the next level too, because a lot of the colleges, specifically CLC, has a great online program as well. I like that D2L piece too, because then they're already geared up for that when they get right there, because that throws a lot of kids when they go from
Google Classroom.
Google Classroom to D2L. It's a little, because things move at a little quicker pace there. So this is a little bit of a chicken egg question you probably can't answer, but you can maybe have a feeling about it.
I'll try.
Do we have less people attempting to do the full gamut of everything online because we have fewer courses? Like, what's the chicken, what's the egg? Like, if we were offering 75 courses, do you think that enrollment would expand? I realize it's a hypothetical.
You know, that's a good question. So when when we first started, we had to apply to be comprehensive. So when we first started this process, we didn't think at that time we were planning to provide comprehensive programming for students until we were ready. So really what we've been doing between year 1 and year 2 was we were trying to layer in courses, specifically core courses, and then some of those elective courses, so that if we got to that point where we decided, yes, we're ready to apply to be a comprehensive provider, we had a fairly robust offering of courses so that we could provide a full-time option for students if they wanted to. But then last spring, like I said, the legislature made that change where you don't have to apply, you can just do that. So we did try, again, looking ahead to next year, to layer in what courses do we need to add so that that's available if students wanted to. So we have all core courses available. We have a Phy-Ed and a health, and we have a variety of electives. So I think with the elective offerings, that is going to be our next step, is to layer in more elective options, because potentially, depending on the path that a student takes in terms of those elective classes, they may need to supplement to an outside district for one class, let's say. So they'd still be a Brainerd student, they'd be enrolled in the Brainerd School District, but they might take one online class through a
Just to fill
different
gap we
provider.
don't have.
But the hope would be we'd be able to build that out to do that. So I think, you know, at this point, our students are choosing the supplemental option, like you said, to kind of gain that experience and to build some of those self-advocacy skills and just time management skills and managing that space. We do have a couple of students that are taking 4+ I don't know that we've captured the students that have chosen to leave prior to the school year to a full-time online. We might recapture those students at one point, but I think being able to provide it, we now have that option that will be part of that conversation. So if students come in and are asking questions about what options are available, this is what I'm looking at doing, we have those opportunities available, and we can bring that into the conversation if a full-time online schedule is something that they're looking for.
Well, Dr. Hahn talked about, I think, the co-enrolled students, right, where you have homeschooled students that are also supplementing the homeschooling with things that they can't get through us.
Yep.
I mean, that's sort of a moral victory, right? And then I think it's a difference of philosophy on how much we really want kids full-time online schooling anyway, right? Versus being in person for the social aspects of it, okay? I have one follow-up question to that, or actually just of the 7 outside ISD 181 students that we have, is there, I think Dr. Hahn alluded to this, is there a common thread on the courses that those 7 came to us for? It was just those 2, or is it spread across?
Well, so the medical terminology, Those students are actually from Pequot Lakes, and I think part of that is we are in a career pathway cohort through Sourcewell. We meet with different school districts in developing, so the Warrior Career Pathways. We were looking at how do we kind of layer online classes to support that work as well. And so that was just through conversations with schools at our cohort meetings. The CNA course that's available through Essentia and that internship, this was just another layer where it was, oh, our students would be interested in layering this medical terminology with the CNA course, so on and so forth. So that was one.
We essentially began offering the course in response to a perceived or articulated need. Okay.
Yep.
And then what's the
the
furthest
other
away that we have somebody
students,
from?
were really their counselors just reached out. Rockridge, is that right? Rock out of Virginia. Rock.
Virginia, Minnesota.
Close enough, we don't know.
Yeah,
what it is.
sorry.
Rock Ridge was the town in Blazing Saddles.
Their counselor actually reached out to us because their students were interested in American Sign Language as a world language option. And so they inquired about that. And then we had, I think, one or two other students that have just been for family or personal needs where parents have reached out. But I will say, we do get a lot of inquiries from parents and from counselors. And I think now that we've expanded to more options, I could see that will start to grow as well, just because we have more available for students to choose from.
Okay.
Chair Boyles.
Director Ward?
Christina, one more question that I thought of as I was listening to my colleagues ask you questions. Do you have every core area met with some kind of a class that would meet every standard, graduation standard for Brainerd High School? In other words, do you have science? Do you have math? Do you have English? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, and yes, we do. The only kind of wrinkle would be that as we move into next year and the new science standards are implemented, we will have to develop the Earth space systems and Earth climate course. We don't currently offer that because we don't currently offer that in person either. So we'll have to layer that in as we move through next year. But yes, we do have all core courses available for students 9-12.
Well, that's only 50 classes.
Well, be
So you
50
can go from
next
ninth
fall.
grade till graduation, and if you take all 50, you've got all the core, is that what you're saying?
Well, the core courses, so of that 50, there's some elective classes as well. But the English, math, science, and social studies, all of those courses that are required for graduation are all offered.
But maybe said another way, 9 through 12, if you didn't care what your electives were, you could theoretically get a high school diploma completely online 9 through 12.
Correct.
With the core, or with the basic online curriculum we have today.
Correct.
But you might not want to because you'd be taking electives that might not be up your alley.
Potentially, yeah, yep. So that would be where they may choose to supplement some of those elective classes.
Wow, pretty cool.
Interesting, yep.
Yeah, great work. I'm excited mostly about when you see those macro numbers and you look at like a jump like we had, I guess this year from first semester to second semester, you wonder in that number, how many of those are unique human beings that aren't currently consuming education from ISD 181 in any other format. Like, I'd love to see that grow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Director Ward, any other questions? Think you're off the hook,
All
Christina.
right,
Have a good
thank
night.
you very much.
All right, we'll move on to new business then. Next up is the presentation on the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, vote of concurrence and non-concurrence. This was one of the agenda items that we slightly tweaked. I'll do the presentation and we'll move on to the action items from there. So I'm not sure, Dr. Hahn, what order we're doing this in?
Actually, I'll let Sarah.
Did
go.
Director Spear do the
go ahead.
presentation part of it?
Nope, she's just gonna do the invitation. We have our
Perfect.
APAC committee members
Yes,
presenting.
please come on up. And while they're coming up, I just give a little bit of context about what you're about to hear from the group is this is a process we go through each year. And it's with our parent group, so the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. And we, as a school district, go through and assess based on what's given to us through the Department of Education on different areas of education that we're providing in the district and programs and so forth. And so we do a self-evaluation as a district, and this group also does an evaluation. And so we did a little bit differently this year. We did our self-evaluation as a district and handed it off to the group so they could use it in their evaluation. And tonight, we get to hear from them on how things are going. So thank you.
Bonjour, hello. I'm Niju Gabowekwe. I am your cultural indigenous student liaison. Some of you were here last year and you'll recognize what we're going to do. We call these prayer ties, and they're put together with our prayers. Inside of these prayer ties is, we call it a sema. You will know it as tobacco. And we would like to give these to each of you. You can choose to do one, keep it and put it out with a tree, or you can hand it back to me and we will take care of it for you. What comes from the earth goes back to the earth. Miigwech. Miigwech.
Bonjour, Ambasha Ikwe, Indigenous Cause.
Miigwech Director Ward.
I have Director Ward on the screen or going?
Oh, yeah, we still got the other thing. Oh, we got school board meeting now.
Yeah.
There he is.
We're kind of more face-to-face people.
As I was saying, Bonjour, Ambasha Ikwe, Indigenous Cause, Megazito Dem. My name is Mary, and I'm from the Eagle Clan, and we're just going to read through this for you. So we understand that when we start off in this way of offering the asema, that elevated this conversation, and that what we ask for in this good way is to be heard and in partnership support positive growth in the district. This is the way that we have begun every year for the past 6 years. In that time, this request has been extended beyond this boardroom, calling in families to join this work, families that have enrolled their children because of this positive dialogue, volunteers and state leaders that have provided immense support to the district and to the Indigenous students. We have begun with the things that we are thankful for in this district. The APAC tries to acknowledge our district for their achievement and accomplishments in the building of relationships, community partnerships, and growth. This year, we would like to share these 7. Number 1,
Want to introduce yourself?
Bonjour. Nagani Wasamukwe, Indigenous Cause. Makodude, Tremendousing Nundujuba. My name is Michelle Berger. I am from Mille Lacs. And I raised my kids. My kids went to this school district, and now I've got 2 foster nephews that are living with me. And so I continue to be part of this group, and I am excited to give the acknowledgements. Number 1, Miigwech. We appreciate the collaboration to purchase and permanently display the tribal flags from all sovereign nations in our state at the Brainerd High School. I'll give a little bit of additional background on that because my nephew came from a tribal school to Brainerd High School, and upon walking in, for him to see all those, he said he got goosebumps. He got swelled up with pride, and that is kind of the thing that we were going for in that. And so to hear that from him directly was wonderful for me. Number 2, Miigwech. We appreciate the inclusion of American Indian family representation on the hiring committees for liaisons and positions related to work between the Indigenous community and the school. Number 3, Miigwech. We've noticed the dedication in school board representation in our APAC meetings. We understand that this is voluntary and how it can be time consuming. We want to thank those board members who volunteer to share our space and learn with us, miigwech, especially to Director Sarah Spear and Michelle Brecken, who was there. Number 4, miigwech for providing the space for the graduation celebration round dance, again, of which my daughter was able to attend and be, she didn't expect to see that in this district, so it was something that she leaves Brainerd School District with a fond memory there. Number 5, we would also like to acknowledge the full-time Indigenous Student Cultural Liaison, Niju, who just passed the tobacco around, who is a Anishinaabe. We have seen a positive impact on our students having positive Indigenous representation. Number 6, miigwech for engaging that Dreamcatcher project to promote fair systems and supports for all our students. Number 7, the APAC would also like to extend our thanks to Superintendent Heidi Hahn for the support and respectful relationship. We hold you strong in this work, and we are appreciative of the legacy that you are leaving in the district. And we've got a gift for you.
Buju Kakanawia, hello everyone. Niju Gabawikwe Nindugu Ojibwemung, Minawa Govinda Budro, Nindijna Kajaganashimung. Migazine Nindu Dame Gawababi Ganikug Nindunjaba Oshki Odena Inda. I'm Govinda, and I am the chair of the parent committee here in Brainerd. So we intentionally try to walk into this room with our feet well grounded in our responsibilities walking this earth. Those responsibilities include the teachings of the grandfathers: honesty, love, courage, truth, wisdom, humility, and respect. When we come, we have heard for many years that some will view this as a contentious process or take our honesty and truth as individual criticism. We always try to walk with courage and humility to respect and love each of you and each other in this process. We are only sitting opposite you because that's the way this room is designed, but also how that system is designed, not because it's oppositional in our hearts and minds. The APAC exists out of the leadership of those that have come before us to establish statutory requirements in our state and of having collaboration and advisement from the caregivers of Indigenous students in the district. The critical nature of this relationship is reciprocal. Each year, the APAC community is asked to vote on whether the district is following all the statutory requirements and meeting the needs of the Indigenous students. Through our responsibilities to try to live by the 7 teachings, we are compelled to respond with honesty and truth on this vote. Over the last several years, we have provided the rubric that we are using to evaluate the district. The rubric, we must note, though, has not been updated to include the recent legislation from the last session, but we are still working on the statutes that are listed in the previous version that are still relevant, and that is the version that you also completed. We appreciate the district has completed the rubric again this year and has noted for themselves the areas of positive growth and areas of necessary focus. We have the information and you have the information and resources to guide you. The district does not have to wait for our official vote to determine where the district lies in this work. We appreciate being in positive collaboration toward generating the type of education that nourishes bright futures for all children. We know that there are individual efforts and individual apathy. This fundamentally is about systems change that generates from the roots and supported from the very top leaves of leadership. And I think that's why we're so concerned about Superintendent Hahn leaving. Beyond individuals, though, how does this work be upheld for those who want to support the children, and how is it being corrected for those who perpetrate inequities in our systems, knowingly and unknowingly? We have voted non-concurrence
unanimously as a committee and have a series of recommendations, as we have in the past, that we see interrelated, just like the parts of that healing quilt. So the APAC has decided on 4 recommendations. Just do one, and then pass it to Michelle.
Number 1, creating a welcoming environment. This was a previous year's recommendation that the APAC would like to forward this year to include a cultural perspective of what determines a welcome environment. We have appreciated that some invitation to events have been extended to Native community members. We would like to propose that as events are being planned, that specific opportunities to include Native communities are extended. Examples of this type of welcoming environment could be that when schools host Veterans Day honorings, that Native veterans are extended invitations and included in these honorings. Native people have the highest per capita rates of services in this country, and that should be reflected in events. Another example is that when Native students are being honored with awards or recognitions, that our community is notified and invited to celebrate in these ceremonies to ensure representation. We have an achievement gap as a result of underserving our children that have been subjected to ongoing historical trauma based on educational policies in this country. We need to highlight the children's successes with welcoming their community into the schools. It helps them to be seen and helps to increase visibility. Lastly, we would like to see more representation of tribal people in displays across all schools in the district. This signals visibility and welcomes our children and families. We would like to call your attention to rubric 4B, culture number 20 and number 22. We will not be reading all of the rubric recommendations, but some that will help you to understand the directions. Number 20, tribal leaders, elders, community representatives, and parents are on campus. Full implementation. My district, school, or tribe offers planned events, classes, and services that has worked to create a welcoming environment for informal visits and American Indian community representatives, tribal leaders, elders, and/or parents regularly visit campus.
Number 2, supporting Indigenous education staff. These positions have been supported through funding that is specifically generated based on the Native student body to provide access to unique and culturally relevant educational opportunities. We recommend that these positions are fully supported to do this important work by not limiting their time to work effectively, encouraging their access to in-service days and networking opportunities, providing leaders learning opportunities in accordance with the collaborative planning with the APAC. The district is finally starting to employ Native people in the district, and we continue to recommend, just as we did last year, that the district create a retention plan that includes culturally relevant practices for a diverse workforce. After all, how can a person feel welcomed in an environment where there is little to no understanding of their identifying truths? We see another barrier created by biases and another opportunity to resolve such barriers by creating a welcoming environment, encouraging community involvement through faculty enrichment that has cultural relevance to our Indigenous students and our First Nation employees, which is important to recruitment and retention. Oh, yeah.
Number 9, American Indian teacher recruitment, Minnesota statute section 124D. .77, recruiting and retaining Indian teachers, full implementation looks like my district, school, or tribe actively recruits teacher applicants who are American Indian from the time it is reasonably expected that a position will become available, with ongoing multi-year efforts, including these main 3 initiatives. Number 1, community outreach through listservs, American Indian community organizations, tribal employment offices. Number 2, collaborating with local colleges to encourage American Indian enrollment in teaching programs. Okay, and then the third.
The third recommendation is supporting Indigenous students that are transitioning within and into the school district. We recommend that there is immediate and intentional planning to support the transition points for Indigenous children in the district. These transitions should be planned culturally specifically by inviting cultural liaisons to be involved with the process. We recognize many stories of ineffective and unsupportive transitions that have hindered students' sense of belonging. The students and their families' success weigh heavily on well-planned and culturally supportive transitions.
And the fourth recommendation, further curriculum development. We recommend that the district takes initiative to provide holistic and culturally appropriate materials and training for our students and staff. The district needs to take initiative to provide holistic and culturally appropriate materials, training for the staff and students. There have been no steps to consult with APAC on the district's development of curriculum and knowledge, excuse me, and knowledge of our community. Last year, this was our fourth recommendation. The language and culture classes related to rubric number 27, this is exactly the words we spoke last year. There needs to be collaboration with the APAC in the development of the First Nation, Indigenous, Native language and culture classes. The APAC should be consulted when developing plans with Indigenous programming with learning goals, classroom space, and curriculum that will include regional language classes to be offered to all students. The loss of culture and language was intentionally executed against our communities by government policy disguised as education. The Indigenous families and the students would like to see intentional effort to provide an education that is reflective of our original languages and cultures. Currently, the APAC has not been involved in the process, although we understand that a curriculum and course is being developed without advisement or tribal consultation as recommended last year. Miigwech, Isindaweg. Thank you for listening.
Will someone ask Director Ward if he'd like to be placed?
Director Ward, would you like us to put your ASEMA out for you? The offering that was here in your spot in Minnesota.
Yes,
All right, Miigwech.
thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Director Ward, any questions for the APAC presenters?
No, thank you very much. It was very enlightening.
Well done, thank you. So for us, for our next step in this, once we've received their vote of non-concurrence, we follow through with a resolution to acknowledge that we've received that. And then we, as a board, have 60 days to kind of respond to that. And then all of this is given back to the Department of Education. So this, I think, is feels good to us that we've got some celebrations here and some common celebrations that we brought forward as well, and some things that we need to focus on. So I think there's some good work to be done. And I think good relationships and collaboration. We have now our very first full-time, thank you. What is your official title? Help me out. Coordinator, thank you. And you're doing a bang-up job too, so thank you. So that's where we go next, is someone moves forward with the acknowledging through the resolution.
I can make the motion to acknowledge it. Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Is that what the motion's for?
Second,
Okay, so we have a motion from Director Donnellinger with a second from Director Ward to acknowledge the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee District Annual Compliance Documentation and Resolution Vote that's been presented to us this evening. Any further discussion?
Director Boyles?
Director Heidman?
where does this fit? I mean, who's responsible for meeting these recommendations within our district? I mean, where does it fall? Does it fall within teaching and learning? What area does this fall into?
It falls into all areas.
Okay,
So, really, we work in partnership with our APAC committee. A lot of it does fall into teaching and learning when we look at curriculum and some practices that way, but it can tie into policy, it can tie into other facets. So really, depending on focus areas, which they gave us 4 very clear focus areas, and then as a board, you'll respond. So we reviewed the rubric together. Now we'll have a chance to bring that back collaboratively to provide a response and to work on those, but it's in all facets of our system, not
Okay.
just one area. There's responsibilities that fall to a superintendent, to a school board, to curriculum, to teaching staff, to support staff.
There's a very intentional connection between the parent group and the coordinator. And I think that's the conduit to helping us, get that out through all of the areas of activities and, teaching and learning and all of these areas, but it's not the only place where that lives.
One of the examples right now is HR. When you think about recruitment, retention, that's really, I know Director Bennett's been working on that recruitment retention plan and has had conversations with her parent advisory committee. So multiple areas.
okay. Thank you.
I guess I have one question too.
Director Donlinger?
Just trying to keep my mouth shut, but I can't help myself. There needs to be collaboration with APAC in the development of a First Nation, Indigenous, Native language and culture classes. The APAC should be consulted when developing plans with Indigenous programming and learning goals. Classroom space and curriculum will include regional language classes. So are we talking about adding a language class? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, it's like a class you could take, like English or Spanish or?
So that's actually part of the legislative changes that occurred this last year in terms of ethnic studies have to be offered for any student population that has representation of 100 or more within the school community across the board of the district. So that's already a thing. And then also federally, there is the 1988 Act around Indigenous languages as well that can be upheld within that. Our district has not offered classes up to this point, but is designing those classes that we understand in accordance with what the state policy is and the new statute changes.
So, what's your name?
Jayla.
Shayla, do you know the language? Could you teach the language class?
We actually have someone, with my understanding, we have a course already being developed.
Right, but what we're talking, and there are people, like, for instance, I hold a licensure in the state. There are people that are licensed within these areas, teachers, to be able to teach within the Ojibwe language. Right, and have been for a long time. I've held that licensure for over 20 years.
So we just gotta find a way to put another section in.
Right, but the thing that we're discussing is not like, that there will be a course that's developed in accordance with the statute, but it's how that's developed and looking at community collaboration within that. And that's what the APAC is, the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. And so that advisement of not just one voice within that piece, but it's a collaboration of community voice to be able to understand how you do this in a good way. Because cultural and language reclamation work is, especially for communities that have lost that through government policy, lost culture, lost language, religious crimes codes that were enacted against us, boarding schools, all sorts of different things that we can point to in that loss. There has to be really sensitive and collaborative work around how that looks and how we design that. And that's part of the reason why we're concerned about making sure that that community voice is really present and tribal voice is really present in that process.
There you go.
Thank you for your question.
No worries.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, then we'll do a roll call vote on the acknowledgement of the APAC documentation and resolution vote as presented. Please, Kelly.
DJ Donlinger,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boyles?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you again very much. It's the fourth one of these that I've had the opportunity to sit at this table and listen to, and I think it's important. Progress, there's been progress, I feel like, from the first one of these that I listened to, so I think that's because everybody's had open ears, open hearts, and still work to do. But thank you. All right, we'll move along then to Director Bennett with the approval of resolution for non-renewal of non-tenured teachers, please.
Yep, this is really, you'll read the resolution.
Oh, that's right, it's just the resolution. We don't need to drag you up here, do we, Director Bennett?
No. But if
All
you
right,
have
I will
questions,
read the
that's easy.
resolution. And then when everybody wakes up, we'll vote on it. Sound good?
You gotta read the whole thing.
Yep,
Yes,
by
it's a
law.
requirement, yeah.
Resolution as follows. Whereas Minnesota statutes section 122A, point 40, subdivision 5 states that the first 3 consecutive years of a teacher's first teaching experience in a single district is deemed to be a probationary period of employment, and that the probationary period in each district in which the teacher is thereafter employed is 1 year. And whereas Minnesota statute section 122A, point 40, subdivision 5 further states that any annual contract with a probationary teacher may or may not be renewed as the school board shall see fit, provided that the board gives that teacher written notice of the non-renewal before July 1st, 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 181 as follows. Item number 1, pursuant to Minnesota statutes section 122A.40 subdivision 5, the school board hereby declines to renew the annual teaching contract of, as listed effective at the end of this school year, Jacob Kuehl, Austin Polcaro, Brittany Sanders, Jeffrey Sipper, Julia Stevens, Matthew Strauman, Julia Wangsness. Number 2, as a result of this resolution, the district's employment relationship with the above-named probationary teachers will terminate effective at the end of the current contract or June 5th, 2024. Number 3, the school board has reviewed and hereby approves the written notice of non-renewal for each affected teacher. Each teacher has the right to request the written reason for non-renewal. The reasons for non-renewal are classified as private personnel data under the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act, unless the non-renewal represents the final disposition of disciplinary actions. Number 4, the superintendent or a designee is directed to serve the affected teachers with a copy of this resolution and the approved written notice for that teacher before July 1st, 2024. If possible, the notices should be hand-delivered. All right, I would now entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read and written.
Make a motion?
Second?
All right, so we have a motion from Director Spear with a second from Director Heidman to approve the resolution as read. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Randy Heidman?
Yes.
Sarah Spear?
Yes.
John Ward?
Yes.
Kevin Boyles?
Yes.
EJ Donnelly?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes new business. We'll move along to committee meeting updates, starting with a curriculum committee meeting that was held back on February 21st. It's your show, Director Heidman.
Seems like ages ago. I guess the important things that came out of committee, Mr. Murtha gave us a comprehensive literacy implementation plan. The district will be using an online learning and language academy. This is a professional development provider to fulfill the READ Act requirements. We've also applied for READ Act literacy professional development, where we will be training 307 staff in phase 1, which includes all teachers in pre-K through grade 6, along with special education in charge of literature. We had to make some adjustments to some of the contracts because there's going to be some additional training and some in-service days added because of the training that staff will have to go through. And the other big issue was the ACOMP leadership team revising budget and structures to support the multi-tiered systems of support, which are going to be used to provide targeted support to struggling students. The ACOMP plan is not structurally balanced from a funding standpoint, so we're gonna need to make changes, and negotiations are taking place with teachers on coming up with a solution, so. End of report.
Great, thank you, Director Heidman. Then we'll move on to the Student Support Services and Activities Committee meeting. Director Spear.
Sure, I can provide a couple of updates here. Lots of celebrations, as were noted by Mr. Freeman, and activities and competitions. The spring musical this year is going to be Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, so put it on your schedule, April 26th through the 28th. We hosted our first ever fall semester Fine Arts Student of the Week, similar to the Athlete of the Week, and I think that was a huge success, and some good champions behind that. Carrie Ross, Student Support Services, celebrated having a full-time Indigenous coordinator in the district for the first time, and I neglected to introduce her tonight. She was with us, Shayla Boudreau. Let's see here. Detroit Lakes was placed in the Central Lakes Conference on February 1st, which is a change for us. And we now have a contract with Essentia Health, who is providing for us a full-time strength and performance coach. So if you run into Alex Rojeski, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and he will be housed at the high school. And they're covering the full salary and benefits. And Mr. Freeman highlighted the three main pillars for this addition. First is having a comprehensive plan for approaching strength and conditioning. There will be one approach now instead of 31 individual approaches from the different sports. Second, there's a comprehensive plan with the physical education department, and Alex will work with those departments to co-teach some of those. And the third pillar is equitable and affordable programming for our athletes and all interested. So.
Great, thank you very much, Dr. Spear. And then Director Ward, you're up next with the Finance Committee meeting from the April 2nd meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to first recognize and thank Director Dondlinger for sitting in as a chair for me, filling in while I was not there. We'll talk about celebration successes. To start with, Marcy Lord shared that, Director Lord shared that all departments are submitting check requests to Skyward, which is significantly cutting back on paper usage. Dr. Hahn shared information about the Farm to School grant. There are many items that are being bought locally to a tune of a savings of about $100,000, and we're appreciative of that. Senior Recognition Night will be held on May 22nd, 2024. 195 students have applied for scholarships with 185 to 190,000 to be awarded from the Brainerd Public Schools Foundation. Each year, our seniors are awarded on the average about $1 million annually. Policy and legislative updates. Marcy, Director Lord again reviewed the policy 412, which is the expenditure reimbursement with the committee. The current policy is lacking specific details, especially for lodging and how to pay for meals and mileage. She's going to look at a commissioner's plan versus the Brainerd Public Schools allowances. Director Lord will then redline version of this policy and share it with Directors Ward and Dondlinger to review and then bring to the board. I shared a bill that's been going through the legislature this year, House File 4986, Senate File 4995, which is a bill about operating levies. Districts that don't have operating levies, or maybe they do have operating levies, but they have also a high percent of seasonal recreational property within them, thereby losing some tax revenue from that. The bill is moving nicely. It had a House committee hearing 2 weeks ago that I was able to testify at. It's having another Senate committee hearing this week. And so we just need to have everyone contact our local legislators to ask them to support this bill. It could provide up to 26%. The citizens still get an opportunity to vote on an operating referendum, but they could provide 26% of the increased tax burden for our public schools, which is very significant. Director Lord also informed the committee what the 24-25 budget was going to look like. We started with a $4.2 million deficit with resignations, retirements, and adjustments. The current deficit is $2.8 million. The district can use the fund balance to recover the deficit and still continue to maintain the 10% fund balance requirement. We also had a presentation by Ellers with Matt Hammer and Sheila McQuave about school funding for options for our district. Brainerd, we in Brainerd now qualify as what's called a 1A district due to there being over 1.5 million square feet of space to maintain with an average building age of over 35 years. That's significant because it allows us to do things within our district that are not allowed if you're not a 1A district. Two other options that Ellers has talked to us about are an operating levy referendum, and a capital project levy. Operating referendums must take place in November. An election for capital project levy can take place outside of November. The last thing is strategic planning for finance and legislative. We had talked about financial stability, exploring options to appropriately fund school facilities and learning environments, and develop a communications plan for fiscal operations. That's the end of the committee report.
Thank you, Director Ward. All right, we'll move on to informational. You're up again, Director Spear, with the Brainerd Public Schools Foundation update.
Excellent. We just met today, actually, and got final numbers for the big event. $82,000 is the final number with the Warrior Club sponsorships included in that. Director Ward mentioned the Senior Scholarship Recognition Night coming up on May 22nd. So applications for those are in their final stages of evaluation, and students should find out soon and get invitations soon to that event. So that's always exciting. The Warrior Warren Initiative will start mid-April and run through mid-May. So they'll start bringing collection boxes around to all the district buildings, and you can bring your gently used Warrior wear, and those will be cleaned up and sold at the beginning of next school year. And then also something else for your calendar, Pints for a Purpose fundraiser at Jack Pine on May 1st for Brainerd Public Schools Foundation.
Great, thank you. Next up is Director Lord with the enrollment report and financial reports for January and February.
Good evening. So the enrollment report in your packet, there's just one report, but we did miss March's, so I'm gonna speak to that. We were down 67 in March compared to the beginning of the year, and then this month April, we were down 64. The 5-year average for March was 86, and then the 5-year average for April was 91. So we're tracking below what we historically have, which is good. Ending the year, hopefully on a pot above budget, but we will see. Yes. Then the financial report, again, we did not have a March report, so the January is in there. There's nothing really to note on that one. The February report is also in there. Just want to point out that there's a large difference in the building construction as Wesby construction's winding down. And then also in the February report, that's when we approved the budget revision. So now it is no longer the original budget that we're comparing the activity to, it's the revised budget. Any questions?
Budget timeline, right? We have to approve the final budget by the end of June. What do we anticipate be on the Finance Committee looking at that again in May at the next meeting too?
I normally do a very broad overview at the May meeting, and I'll do the same again. And then we have a Finance Committee in June where if there's been any major updates or changes from what was presented, we'll go through that again. And then in the June board meeting, we would approve the budget.
Hot dog.
That's all I had.
Still ways to go.
Yeah. Yeah. We're still working on it.
All right, well, thank you, Director Lord. Next up is the Superintendent's report.
Going to the front row?
I take
Yeah. I promised you, you guys don't remember because we didn't have a meeting in March, but like I said, we were gonna try to give you updates that relate. Okay, I'm driving here. Are you driving on me, Ryan? Okay, like the mouse was moving not where I wanted it to move. So here we go. So this will hopefully bring back memory. So as you're aware, we've changed our mission and adopted new missions through our strategic planning, and that is to educate and inspire our students. So as a reminder, we teach children, not subjects. We lead people, not projects. We will work alongside those we serve with our commitment to educate and inspire each student by providing innovative opportunities to create lifelong success. So I think this is becoming more grounded in our work. When you ask our staff and you're starting to be out in the community, people can say, what's the mission at Brainerd Public Schools? It's to educate and inspire students. Our strategic goals, again, goal 1, increase academic achievement. 2 is ensuring safe facilities. 3 is strengthening the financial position of our school district. And 4 is establishing and growing a work environment where our students and staff are feeling supported and are encouraged to thrive. My goal is to give you some highlights on the work that's being done in each of those areas. So at the last board meeting in February, you had a report that talked about credit status, attendance, our first round of FastBridge data. Right now, we're in the middle of MCA testing season. So if you're talking to staff, Sue Anderson, who's helping administrate our test, that's actively happening. Update our REDAC training for administrators will begin in May. Our goal as an administrative team is we will be 3 modules ahead of our staff. So our leadership team is going to be starting that training in May so we can learn together and be prepared with our staff. We're also in the midst of planning for summer school, and you're starting to see lots of great information. The registration numbers are high again for our Battle of the Books, our summer reading program that Lori Wigg has led in partnership with our friends at the Brainerd Library, and capitalizing on some of our learning loss dollars. Safe facilities through standardized procedures. Just to make you aware, our Raptor visitor system is fully operational in each building. You don't have to. You come in your badge and you have your ID, but anybody else who's visiting our building, they take in their driver's license, their ID, and there's a security system in there, but it can print out a badge and let them go through that system. So that's fully operational. We'll be making an announcement to the district in May. We started at the high school and we have that fully implemented. We did that in November, and then we let all the other buildings come online. One of the thought processes where we would wait till August to do full implementation, but it's become so familiar to a lot of our families. We're going to shoot for that in May, so by the time we get to August, things are just fully functional. And then attendance procedures continue to be applied. If you remember, as a board, you spent a great deal of time as we reviewed and rewrote our attendance policy. As some different scenarios have come to surface, we've worked through those. We are seeing that that's having an impact on our attendance, especially the high school really likes, that they can't just leave for Pep Fest and other avenues that were there. So that's been in place. That's happening standardized throughout our district. Financial position, as you saw, the finance committee reviewed levy options, and we continue to do our budget work for overall approval in June. We're prioritizing early learning and literacy and student services. And then the work under environment where students and staff thrive. There's been intentional work that's been done to do surveys and focus groups with students and staff, seeking input on how to include voices in decisions and practices, and really engagement with the community. The Equity Task Force has looked at how to engage more with that community. That's one of the last priority buckets for them. The other piece that you may or may not be aware of, we've implemented the Healthiest You app, which is the service that our staff have access to, where at any point in time, 24 hours a day, they have access to counseling services, medical services, and it's free of charge to them. So that's one of the things that we've done to make sure that we have that access for our staff. And we'll get you some usage, but the usage rate continues to increase. So educate and inspire, to give you highlights. Tonight we are going to highlight, and I think she's here. There's Principal Jessica Papajoki. So we have some Brainerd Learning Center data for you to consider and celebrate with us. Since the start of the school year to date, we've had, when I printed this, it says 10 students. We still at 10, Jessica? Okay, 10 students have earned their diplomas, and we're not even at graduation time yet. Since the start of the school year, the students have earned 795, or 795 credits. Compared to last year at this time, it was 774. And the year prior to that, it was 675. So what you're noticing, that credits are continuing to increase. And if you remember, at our Learning Center, we are educating students that are typically credit deficient. So we're accelerating that. And just as a reminder, when we talk ADMs at the board level a lot, 11 credits equals 1 ADM. And then we just found out, well, I think it's now 2 weeks ago, but last week, 2 weeks ago with our graduation, 2022 was 45% of our students at Brainerd Learning Center, and in 2023 it was 50.7%. So again, that's huge when you're looking at students that are looking at that supportive alternative environment. And then inspiring, I think the best way to talk to you about the inspiring is to give you the images, because images speak louder than 1,000 words. So we had kindergarten roundup. I don't know if that just in all of our buildings, and that was a pretty common photo that was taken as they came in. They are so excited. They were so excited to meet their teachers, and the staff just did a wonderful job of welcoming them, and it's so fun to see their parents excited to start their journey with Brainerd Public Schools. You spoke about donations tonight, so our Super Mileage Club, they are down at the Indianapolis Raceway, and so there's their super mileage vehicle. Jack, did we have any data updates? How they performed?
Got 11th in the electric division, the third highest finish for a high school, those colleges that they're competing against.
Wow.
Very
So
good.
again, pretty awesome ways besides yeah. Somebody was clapping. Oh, that was pretty exciting. Again, how many high schools have a super mileage club? For those of you who had children, and this, Teresa, I took this from the paper, just so you'll be excited. We had prom this last weekend, and I was so excited for our kiddos. It was actually sunny, and it was above freezing. So I don't know if Principal Rusk has anything to report, but it was, from all the parents I spoke to and photos, pretty amazing event as part of our high school tradition. And then what was mentioned earlier, last Friday, we had the honor of celebrating Joey Halverson. And for those of us that were in attendance, and if we listened to her spoke, actually we had pre-recorded her speech just with her progression of ALS. We wanted to make sure that she had the opportunity to really speak from her heart, and her whole entire message was about the power of education and about how her educational experience at Brainerd Public Schools impacted her life and how she's lived a life of service based on the education that she received. So it was just a wonderful evening and a wonderful way of how we continue to inspire and celebrate things in Brainerd Public Schools. And that then again is just our focus areas of our strategic plan. So that is my superintendent report for this board meeting.
Question.
Yes.
So we got, with the READ Act, we were going with carry-all, right? Wasn't that the University of Minnesota thing, and now we switched it to LO, or?
Correct. So what happened is we had identified carry-all as our original, and we were going to work. However, at the time when we looked at the professional development and we stopped checking, I don't know, end of February, I'm going to look at Director Ross. And end of March, they still, I don't know if they have the professional development developed. So what happened is we had to make a decision. They were not prepared for the professional development. When we looked at the last special board meeting, you actually adopted a calendar to adjust those professional development days. We had to secure a provider. We had to secure our dates for professional learning. So that's why
switched.
that's why we made the
Are you
change.
excited about the switch? Do you feel better about this? I mean, if they're dragging their feet, does that kind of make you?
Well, the other thing is, we look for research-based and evidence-based practices. It hasn't, it would be research-based, but it hasn't really been put in where we know that CORE was the original, now it's OLA. It is well-researched, implemented, and evidence-based. So there's been a long history of training around that. So we feel very confident with that. They've also been, when you look at securing a vendor, they've been easy to work with to ensure that we have the appropriate professional development ready for our staff. So I feel very good about it. It's been a lot of work. Director Ross has done a ton of work, as well as Director Murtha, as we've worked to navigate that and plan. It's basically shifting a whole learning system for a school district.
Well, let's hope it pays off.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
You gotta quit yawning.
Thank you. All right, we will move along to director updates. Director Brecken will not be giving an update unless she emails it to me in the next 12 seconds. Move along to you, Director Heidman.
Where we're at?
Director updates.
Oh, director updates. I really don't have anything. Well, I do have one thing to say. Opening day tomorrow, baseball. Warriors take on Sauk Rapids, 5 o'clock at Don Adamson.
Didn't have to shovel.
Won't have to, hopefully the weather cooperates.
Yes.
I think it will. That's it.
Great. Director Donnellinger, you're up.
I don't really have anything to say. Is Jack still here? Yeah. So I was looking at the donations, and it looked like the boys swim team had just gotten a whole sheet of donations, and then tonight it looks like it's gone. Is that, am I missing that? Oh, well, anyways, the coach was the coach of the Section 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, must be a good coach. So,
Excellent coach.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that those kids are out there working, so it's good for them. And it's good for the program, it's good for all of it, so no wonder they won. Thanks.
Director Ward.
Thank you, Chair Boyles. just a couple things. First of all, thank you to the folks that, as Superintendent Hahn pointed out, the celebration for Joey Halverson. I would have loved to have been there, but it sounded like it was remarkable. I know there was a lot of work and effort put forth. John Erickson and his whole crew, and Heidi and her whole crew, and so many people, so many people. So thank you, and Tim at the Gitchy, for celebrating a remarkable person, celebrating a person that has made a huge impact in our community and is loved by everybody. So, but the work did not go unnoticed, and so thank you for that. The other thing I want to address is that while we are doing our superintendent search, the board was just updated today, a little bit ago, that there's a survey out there. There's a survey for everybody to look at and give their feedback for. And there's already been over 700 plus responses to that survey. I think it ends Sunday, I think. Somebody help me with that. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
Okay, so just a shout out to folks, and you know, they give categories of business owners or staff or parents, or there's a number of categories. So we had 700 plus people voice their opinions on that and feedback on that, and it's important. So please take some time to do that. So thank you. See you all soon. We don't have to do any more roll call votes, hopefully.
Yay.
Thank you, Director Ward. Director Spear.
I have nothing for tonight. Thanks.
That brings it around to me. I also have nothing this evening as well.
Can I add one thing?
Of course.
So I want to build on Director Ward. So when we looked at the celebration for Joey Halverson on Friday, that was Brainerd Citizen of the Year. So it was wonderful to partner with the City of Brainerd and Mayor Bedeau. We had 6 previous Citizens of the Year there present, recognized, which was wonderful. And then the mention of our Distinguished Achievement Hall of Fame Committee. They did a wonderful job, and just some of the heavy lifting they do to bring such incredible events. So, and as well, John Erickson comes up with an idea, and then the vision runs. So I appreciate Director Ward for giving those shout outs.
Outstanding. We have half a page plus of future meetings. This looks like almost everything that's going on of note in the district that we know of between now and the end of the school year. I'm not going to read them all off, but there's a lot of really great events here. So if you're watching at home, you can go to the district website, pull this from the school board page with the agenda meeting minutes, or the agenda notes, the packet for tonight. This would be in there. A couple items of note that are in here would be the kind of ones that we highlighted earlier would be, we have a Personnel and Benefits Committee meeting coming up on April 17th. Then we have this group, the school board, meets again in a special board meeting on April 22nd. And that is when we go through our interview training for interviewing candidates that will come forth. The application process for superintendent candidates with MSBA concludes on the 23rd. And then at that point, the school board members will get packets of information from MSBA, and then we start really working hard. Next up, we have a policy committee meeting on April 24th. Director Heidman chairs that group. And then all sports banquet on April 29th. Then the next special school board meeting, April 30th. That is the one where the school board will go through the applicants that we have for the superintendent position and select the finalists that we will be interviewing. And then finally, if we go further down, May 13th is our next regular school board meeting. Before that, May 8th, though, we do have a special school board meeting where we do the finalist selection. That's the meeting where we decide who we want to enter negotiations with to be our next superintendent. And hopefully that will all work out well between the 8th and 13th so that we can ratify that contract with the new superintendent on at the May 13th meeting. And then, of course, you have graduation and all those other things at the end of May.
So is the April 22nd meeting, is that a special board meeting? Are they coming to train us, or is that just a dial-in thing?
I think Barb is virtual for that meeting,
No, I think.
or she's in person
She
for that
is.
one, but not
We
the
were all
next
gonna
two.
come
We're here.
We're all coming in here.
And she's
She's
virtual.
not gonna be
She's
here, so if
virtual.
I was out of town, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
No,
We
you
just need to make sure,
just have to post it.
we need to post your address to participate. So if you're gonna participate
For my
virtually,
training?
yes.
It's still a special school
Still a
board meeting. It
special
doesn't
board
matter what the
meeting.
content of the meeting is.
So like Michelle's only able to view because we didn't publish her address, so.
Well, I think I'll be here, but got kind of a idea.
The biggest thing is just making sure we have the address published when we publish the agenda, so.
I want to note for those 2 other special board meetings, nobody bothered to come watch me to participate.
If I could've-
Yeah, I figured as much. They're afraid.
John has a whole group.
Yeah, he's got lawn chairs out in the back. All right. Okay,
We
so
were at the swimming pool.
there you go, perfect. Shuffleboard after. Director Heidman.
Yeah, MCA testing, is that in all the buildings going on now?
There's all different dates and schedules based on grade levels and content, and so the testing schedule is on the site.
Okay.
So we don't do them all just on one day. It's fairly dependent. And there's makeup sessions, small group sessions.
Oh, I know there's makeup sessions.
But our testing schedule is published, so it's available.
Okay.
All right, in the absence of any other business to come before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yep, second. Whichever way you wanna go.
We have a motion from Director Dondelinger with a second from Director Heidman to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Kevin Boyles,
Yes.
BJ Donley,
Yes.
Randy